And I think we're live. I think we are. We could be live.
It says it's live on my end.
And yet, I'm not seeing us on Facebook as yet. Oh, yes, we are live. Hello, Facebook. Hi. So excited to see all y'all. Wonderful. So now that we are live, I'm going to hit record. So can you put on your record face, please? Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ladies Power Lunch. I am super excited. You've all seen me excited before, but you don't even understand. The excitement has been ratcheted up because joining us today, I have one of my favorite mentors, Darla LeDoux, and she's going to be sharing with us about collaborations and how we can get the best out of the collaborations that we're doing. So, welcome, Darla. I'm so happy you're
Thank
here. So
you.
excited. Can you
I'm so excited.
Awesome. Can you share with our listeners and viewers who you are and what exactly it is that you do?
Sure. I'm Darla LeDoux. I am the founder of a company called Sourced and the creator of a book, a program, a system called Retreat and Grow Rich.
Mhm.
And I've been a business coach for 10 years, working in the space of transformation, teaching people how to integrate what I call powerful, profitable retreats into their business for about 6 of these years. As we might imagine, as COVID has happened, my ads saying how to host retreats didn't do as well when no one is having retreats. So I've kind of reinvented and rebranded this summer, written my second book, and I'm moving in this direction called Sourced, which is all about being an entrepreneur who is led in connection with spirit and who works and brings that into your work with your clients. So it's so much easier to do your work when Source is at your back.
I love that. I absolutely adore that. And I have to say that you have been really, really instrumental in encouraging me to be more out there with the fact that I consider myself to be spirit led and that
Yes.
it's okay if our clients or if even our patients or people who are working with us, if they know that that is how we live our lives, it's okay. As a matter of fact, they should know. And I
Yeah.
really have to credit you with that because you were the one who made it feel like you kind of helped me to step out of the closet in a way.
That's
Haha.
awesome.
So
That's my
thank
goal.
you.
That's my
Thank you.
goal. You know, my goal is really to make this intuitive connection valid, valued, and visible,
Hmm.
as opposed to something we do secretly and don't tell others about and pretend like we're running a traditional business when really we've got these, magical connections.
Magical. I
Yeah.
love it. Adore it. Absolutely. So, we're here to talk about collaboration, and you're no
Yes.
stranger to collaboration. When you think of collaboration, what comes to mind for you? Like if you had to slap a Wikipedia
Mhm.
definition on it, what would that be?
Yeah, I think of it as pooling resources, really. How does my gift support your gift? How does your gift support my gift or your
Mhm.
resources or connections? When we pull them together, we can have a bigger impact.
Definitely. I mean, I look at collaboration as an opportunity to do new math. When you get one plus one,
I love
that's
it.
greater than two. Because you're going to form with both the gifts and talents of each person, you're going to form an entity that is so
Yes.
much bigger and so much better and shines so much brighter than just the one alone or,
Yes.
each one on their own. So
I
when
love
I tell
that.
you
New
I'm all
math.
about collaboration, I'm all in on that.
I love
What do
it.
you think are some like the pros and cons of collaboration though?
Yeah. So I want to start by saying I'm not the poster child for collaboration. And I think that brings a really good perspective to this interview series because I've seen a lot of what doesn't work in collaboration. Um, so the pros, like we talked about, you have access to more resources. You don't have to do everything yourself. You can, divide and conquer. Um, Maybe you can provide a richer experience to your clients if you're bringing in other perspectives into your programs. So lots of pros. The cons are two things come to mind. The first is I've seen a lot of collaborations that are really transactional. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. But kind of this like, you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Well, how big is your list? How many emails are you going to send? And these things are all helpful to know. But when it becomes the only thing we're thinking about and we're not looking for aligned values and that kind of thing, I think it can feel forced and it can feel yucky. The other con is we can use collaborations to hide. And that's the biggest thing that I want to share about. So, in teaching people how to create powerful, profitable retreats, Davia, I can't tell you how many times I've had people come to me. Like, I think about my client, Kate, who was one of my earliest clients when I started teaching retreats. She had a retreat that she had booked and she had worked for 4 months to design it and market it and fill it. And it was full. I think she had like 16 people coming, which was great. And, but she was partnering with someone else. She had done all the work to market and fill it. The other person was going to come teach a section, but they were splitting the proceeds. So at the end of the day, I think they made about $6,000. So she got three and the other person got three. And she had been a yoga instructor, so making $3,000 in a retreat felt good. She was like, yeah, I made $3,000. But really she had made $3,000 from working 4 months, right, nonstop to make this happen. So her hourly rate was very, very small, and the other person wasn't involved in filling the retreat, but they got half of the proceeds. So this happens all the time. The other thing that happens all the time is two people are going to partner on a retreat. There's no explicit conversation about who does what are you responsible for, how does the money work, what about expenses, who gets to decide these things, all of these things, right? And so then each person assumes the other person is going to fill it. Like at the end of the day, they're waiting for the other person to start selling it and until it feels real. And so both people are just waiting and it doesn't actually get sold. And I've seen that happen over and over again. And that's where the hiding comes in, where it's like, oh, well, I don't think I have anything to offer, but Davia does. So I could probably sell her. So let me just get her on board and then I'll sell it. And I find that tends to fall apart. Because then Davia is thinking, oh, well, I'm going to get Darla on board because she's easier to sell. And right. And then both people are kind of hiding. And so if you're not in your power, you're not going to fill the offer, right? If you're coming from a hiding energy. Now it can work where it really does inspire you, right? And it's like, ooh, two is better than one, and it excites you and inspires you. But if you're coming from wanting to hide, it's just going to amplify that.
Yes, I think you hit on something that's really, really important, and it's the energy that you're bringing to it,
Yes.
and also having explicit conversations.
Yes.
Because if you think back to maybe excuse me, the same example of two people going into having a retreat together, and one thinking that, okay, it'll be easier to I'm thinking it'll be easy for me to sell Darla, and Darla's thinking it'll be easy to sell me. But if I'm approaching it from the energy of, oh, I'm excited to sell Darla, and I'm
Right.
excited to promote Darla to my list, and
Right.
I'm all in on it, and I'm doing everything, like your
Right.
thing says, anything is possible. I'm doing everything that is
Yeah.
possible to promote it, to let my list know that, guys, guess what? Darla is going to be there. then I
Yeah,
feel like that's going to have a different energy, and that's going to
totally.
lead to filling the retreat. And you're doing the same thing on
Totally.
your side. That's going to have a different energy as opposed to me sitting back and saying, well, I hope Darla is selling it because, I,
Exactly.
it's,
Yeah, it's all where you're coming from
yes.
energetically about it. And that's where you want to have a real, soul conversation with yourself. Like,
Hmm.
is this an aligned partnership? Do I feel willing to get visible in this partnership? Am I willing to rise to the occasion of however amazing I think Davia is? Am I willing to be that amazing too? And that's a
Interesting.
great question to ask yourself.
Yeah, we should all be having conversations with ourselves. I do it all the time. People just think I'm crazy, but it's a wonderful thing to do because
Yeah.
you really get to the bottom of why am I even doing this?
Yes.
Why is this collaboration something that
Yes.
seems interesting or important to
Yeah.
me?
And when you're not clear, it's like you might attract a lot of invitations to partner on different things that maybe they're not aligned with your purpose. Maybe they're great and you love the other person and you would want to do it, but it's going to distract you from actually doing your thing. So again, that conversation with yourself about the why is so important.
Yes. And I'm
And
taking
then
notes from all of the things that you're saying because you're talking about the clarity being so important and not attracting the wrong kinds of
exactly.
invitations. And that's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we are in confusion, which can happen a lot, I mean, it can still happen to me sometimes where it's like, I have 3 projects and which one do I work on today? And then in comes something else that's like, oh, I don't have to decide about which of those. I'm just going to respond to someone else's request.
Mhm, mhm.
Like, I see entrepreneurs do that all the time. So, and it might be energetically aligned and feel great, but it might be a really good distraction.
I want to
But I
say
want to
hi.
share,
Just before you go on,
yeah,
Darla, I just want to say hi to our friends who are watching with us over on our Facebook group. And if you're not already a member
yeah,
of our Facebook group,
I
I
believe
invite
I
you to
am.
join us. Anybody who's watching, if you're a female entrepreneur, you're absolutely welcome to join us. Just go over to Facebook and look for Ladies Power Lunch, and we will be absolutely happy to invite you into our amazing community. We have Lynn over there watching with us. There's Marianne. Marianne says, hi, ladies. Love this perspective, Darla. All things to consider when collaborating. It's all about alignment. You can be supportive without collaborating. I love that.
Hmm.
Awesome. And you were saying, Darla, before
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
interrupted.
Well, now I'm going to add in the group, I am in the group. So I'm also going to go post my little picture of me with your woo flag since I got the woo flag from the event. I'll post it under this video. So for those of you in there.
Awesome.
Um, no, so I did want to share about a particular collaboration. And I wanted to talk a little bit. You used the phrase new math, which I love so much. Also want to talk about math and like, how do you decide financially, like what you want to get from a collaboration and how you're going to bring in the money? Because again, I'm guessing everybody in Ladies Power Lunch is like me and like you, like have big hearts and want to really serve and support people and make a difference in the world. And so sometimes we can let the money kind of go by the wayside. And so that feels important to talk about. Um, and I have a story that kind of brings all of it together. So I did a collaboration. This has been several years ago, where I did a tour. And I know this is something that I bet you'll do at some point is do a tour. We did events in different cities, 5 different cities. It was called the Simply Powerful Tour.
Ooh.
And the way it worked is, I was in this place where I really looked at my own trajectory of my career. And I realized something that had made a big difference for me was practical application of what I was learning. So I had taken a speaker training and then I got on a stage and did my talk. And like the actual practical application of doing the thing helped me so much. So I decided I wanted to create something where people could have that opportunity. And so we went to different cities and I co-led a 1-day retreat with 5 different women in 5 different cities. And so there was training leading up, retreat leader training, which I know, you're familiar with my work in the retreat leader training realm. And then we had these events. And so they paid for the training. And as a part of the training, they got to actually come and present. So that was all good. And it was awesome. And I learned so much. It was also a lot of work. It was very tiring, going to 5 cities, like boom, 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 one after the other. But what happened was there were very different results in different cities, depending on who my collaborator was. And I didn't have any kind of explicit agreement about how we would fill the event. So they could promote it and I promoted it. And I placed Facebook ads. I spent money on Facebook ads. I invested in the venue. I coordinated everything. My team did all the marketing, all of that. And I didn't create any agreement that they would bring so many people to the event. So the attendance varied dramatically. Like we had, I think the smallest was 5 or 6 people, and the biggest was 30 some.
Wow.
And so the experiences were just very different, right? And we didn't have this conversation. And the reason is I just took it on. Okay. So, and this comes back to energy again. So when we aren't keeping our energy clear and completing old agreements, maybe we had as kids of who we are in the world or how we get our value, we're going to put that into the partnership. So I had designed the whole thing around, no, don't worry, I got this. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Right. Which was a pattern from childhood of I'll do it. I can do it. I can do anything. Just let me do it. And I developed that to support my mom, who seemed to be completely overwhelmed with life. Right. It was really, so things were very hard for her. So I was I got it. I'll do it. And so that just continued. And to the point where I injured myself, I tore my rotator cuff, right, which is shouldering the burden.
Yes.
And it was a random accident. I fell down the stairs, but it was really indicative of how I was being in this process of shouldering this burden for this collaboration that I hadn't taken time to outline.
Taking time to outline it. Yep.
And if you're partnering with someone, some of them were super easy to fill. And some of them were really, really hard to fill. And again, it's energy.
Yeah, it really is energy, but I love what you're talking about just having that clear, explicit conversation at the
Yeah.
beginning. So your energy is clear. You don't have to shoulder the entire burden. And I also appreciate that you're sharing with us that you've had a pattern of behavior that you brought into the collaboration that may not
Exactly.
have been the most beneficial for the relationship. Because I bet just knowing who you are and knowing the kinds of people that you attract, I bet if you were able to have explicit conversations up front,
Yeah.
then everybody would have responsibility and everybody would
Mm-hmm.
step up and it would have been a different outcome.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And it would have served them too,
yes,
to have that practice of filling the room.
absolutely.
And this is where the money comes in too, right? Because they were paying for the program, it was I took on, I better do it all. And the money does that just has to make practical sense, right? We're paying for 5 meeting rooms and flights to all the places. And we recorded them all on video so that clients could have video of themselves speaking and all of that, right?
Mhm.
So there's so much that goes into actually producing something. But that had nothing to do with this idea of filling it and what would it how different would it have been if they were so excited for every single person they know to come to this event? How different would the energy have been if they had had that responsibility?
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. I completely agree with all of what you're saying. So, going forward, as we are making our collaborations and we're being very clear about what our intentions are, we're having the right kinds of conversations up front, we're making sure that our energy is clear, and we're making sure that we have clarity of intent and purpose. What sort of words of wisdom would you leave us with?
Hmm. What comes up is, I teach desire-based pricing, as you
Mhm.
know, where it's like, what is the lifestyle that you really desire? How many hours do you want to be working, and what does your lifestyle cost? And you do that math. Now, obviously, depending on where someone is, if they have a lot of team members, they got to include that versus if you're a solopreneur. But really understand that, the value of your time, and use that to help in these conversations.
I feel like you have hit on a lot of practical things that really we need to consider when we're going to get involved with the
Mm-hmm.
collaborations that we're getting involved with, because collaborations can be amazing. They can grow your business tremendously
Yeah,
if they're done the right way.
yeah,
But also, if they're not done the right way, they can actually have the opposite effect, and you
yeah,
can set yourself up in the marketplace to be somebody that people think of as being unreliable, and nobody, absolutely
yeah,
nobody wants that. And I think that's probably, and you can bear me out on this, probably that's one of the reasons that people are hesitant to hop into a
yeah.
collaboration,
I think that's
because
true.
everybody's been burnt at some point. Everybody has some memory, even if it was just from college or from high school, being in a group project with people who pulled their weight and people who didn't, and
Yeah,
just seeing the outcome of that.
yeah,
And so there are things that we can do at the very, very onset to make sure that, and you
yeah,
probably will never ever tick every box, but certainly if you're addressing these things, I think you can have a better collaboration. What do you
yeah.
think?
Yes, absolutely. And also, what's coming to mind is where we're going, I think, as a culture, with more women taking leadership roles and continuing to set the example for what else is possible. It's like the practical basis is great, but it's also allowing ourselves to be creative and be present with one another's energy and see where it leads us. And I think that's, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So we want to make sure we're being practical about it, and totally relate to that, being burned, or, not, obviously I was always the one doing the work in the group projects, of
Me
course.
too. You know.
Um, but we want to be more fluid too, and be open to, and this is a season that I'm inviting more, like, what does it look like to be receptive to support in different ways versus so linear. So I think that's where we're going, but we have to have these basics of like understanding our value and getting paid, because there's a whole lot of people doing like really beautiful things for free, and everybody's secretly suffering. And no, nobody's talking about that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, let's do it. And then I also was just thinking of, I'll tell this really quick. I spoke with this woman who was doing an event, and it sounded amazing. And it was like, this is the thing that if I had a magic wand, I would be hosting myself, but it's not really my gift. It's like, it's your gift, right? Um, and so she was telling me about this thing, and I'm like, I'm going to register. I want to be a sponsor. I want to speak. And I said, I started listing people that I knew who I thought would come. And I said, let me know if you want an introduction. And she immediately, like, she did not take me up on the introductions. She went on to more things about logistics and da 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 da. And like, I know I could have filled half that event just because I was so excited to go to an event. Like I know I could have, right? But she missed it. And it ended up the event never happened. So that might have been perfect. Maybe the event, obviously the event wasn't meant to happen, but it's also these patterns get in the way. I'm guessing she had a pattern of I have to do everything myself, right? So I'm sure she's on a learning curve about collaboration. And it's like, this is her vision. I'm sure she will get there, right? Eventually. But like she missed how much I was trying to help her. And it would have
Mm-hmm.
been really easy for me to support her. Would have
So
cost me nothing.
maybe
I would have been happy to do it, you know?
so maybe the lesson for her would have been a lesson in receiving,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
were absolutely ready to help her, but she wasn't
Yeah.
ready to receive. And so
Exactly.
that, I like the way Abraham Hicks talks about how things happen and how things flow into our existence. And she says that sometimes it is that the thing that you want is not lined up with you, or sometimes it's that you're
Mm-hmm.
not lined up with the thing. And I
Yeah.
feel as though maybe in this case it was a case where all the opportunities were up here, but she
Yeah.
was she was just not
Yep.
on the plane to even hear the offers that you were making. So it comes back
Exactly.
to the energy of the
Exactly.
collaboration. It is
Exactly.
so so important. I love that story. That's a really really great one. Do you have any stories of, I don't know, a collaboration that you thought to yourself, that I don't even know how this collaboration happened because it was so unlikely. It was an unlikely pairing, but it kind of worked out really well.
Um, hmm. Well, like I said, I'm not the poster child for collaboration. So I don't have a whole long list, but I did collaborate recently with my client and dear human friend, Paula Forbes, who does anti-racist work. She has a program called But That's Not Who I Am. And we co-created it together. Like she has a program for educators, and we took it into the coaching space. And that was really just following the energy this year and saying this needs to happen, and trusting it without overthinking. Do I have time for this? Does anybody want it? It's not really my brand. It's not really, what I do. Does this make sense? It was like, no, there's energy here. Let's do it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that story. That's wonderful. Before we go, do you have any hacks, any websites, any podcasts, anything that you think that we could
Hmm.
benefit from just tapping into because you know about it? Any kind of resources that have been helpful for you as far as this whole collaboration goes?
Actually, I would like to learn them from you for this coming year. We do have a podcast. I have a podcast, Retreat and Grow Rich, if people are resonating with hosting retreats. And then I would love to share the resource. I just released a new quiz. So these are my resources. So I'm sure you have a stack of
Perfect.
other people's. It is at Sourced Experience. So sourced with a D, experience.com/quiz. And I haven't explored what it looks like in collaboration, but I actually think it could be really amazing in collaboration. I'm just starting to explore what it looks like on my team for people to
Hmm.
bring their gifts forward. So this is a quiz that will give you what I call your sourced magic, which is how your intuition or your inner knowing works. So, when I was in corporate, it was like my intuition wasn't really welcome, right? It's like have the facts, have the data, have all the left brain things. And I'm an engineer, so like I learned how to do that. But I believe we have so much wisdom in our intuition that we don't use. So when it comes to collaboration, if both people took the quiz and then they said, so for example, I have a lead coach on my team, Julie, who you know. Julie has this gift of recognition, and I've really been using the gift of sensation. And so we'll come together, like working with a client, and say, well, what is it? What are you getting? Right? What's your recognition telling you? Are you getting a visual about this? And mine will be, are you getting a physical about this? And we put it together to help support our clients. or when we're intuiting, like what offer should we make in this program, right? It's like, well, what are you getting? What are you getting? And you can use this language to navigate like how to best deliver your work. So it's new. I haven't even explored all the uses for it, but I think it would be really great in a collaboration if both people knew their type.
I think that's wonderful. And I would like to invite you to post the link in the chat below and also over on our YouTube channel. If you could post the link so that our viewers and our visitors will have an opportunity to step up and take your quiz. And I think when I did your quiz, I ended up being my sourced magic is
Expression.
expression.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, it's no secret. I love to talk, which is why I have this show and we bring
Yeah.
our guests on and we have collaborations through
Yeah.
conversation.
And
Isn't that
expression
wonderful?
doesn't necessarily mean like always talking, but expression is like what comes through you is important. Like people should be on the edge of their seat when you're really tuned in. You mentioned Esther Hicks. It's like that kind of, right? So when you know, I don't know where that came from, but it feels important that
Yes.
you know to stand up for it. So if you're in a collaboration, it's like, no, 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 this is sourced, like this is important and
Yep.
we need to honor it. So if
I
each
love
person's
this.
empowered like that, it makes a difference.
This is beautiful. And I know everybody in our group is going to be very excited to take your quiz so they can find out what their
Yay.
sourced magic is. And I'm looking forward, guys. So if you figure out what your sourced magic is, I'm going to invite you to
Oh,
post
yes.
below. So thank you so much, Darla, for joining us today. We went a little bit over time, but I think it was 100% worth it because I feel like on this conversation, we were able to get into some of the nitty gritty that you don't, we learn so much more from the things that don't go as well as we might have liked. I
Yes.
think than sometimes when things are all butterflies and rainbows. I feel like
Totally.
it's an opportunity to learn. It's when we don't learn the lessons, that's when we miss out. So thank you so much for really
You're so
sharing this with us.
welcome.
I appreciate it. And I
Love
invite,
you.
love you too. I invite you all to check out Darla. She's going to post all her information in the chat below. And if you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.